The Health Department has announced that a task team will be set up to probe whether the deaths of 15 people in Hammanskraal due to cholera can be attributed to negligence. So far, there are 41 positive cases in the country, 1 in Limpopo, 6 in Parys in the Free State, and 34 cases in Gauteng. Now, the Deputy Health Minister, Dr. Sibongiseni Dhlomo, visited Hammanskraal yesterday with a team which included the Water and Sanitation Department. He joins us this morning for the latest on government's efforts in the wake of this outbreak. Dr. Dhlomo, it's great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for coming on. And I think your statement as the Health Ministry is quite an indictment because it says it's unacceptable that so many people have died from a treatable disease.
Yes, good morning, Michelle, and good morning to your viewers. It's something that could have been avoided. We haven't had deaths from cholera for a long time. You would recall that some few weeks back, we were alerting South Africans that there are citizens who have come in from Malawi, visiting Malawi, come back to South Africa with cholera, because some of our neighboring countries are still cholera endemic. Mm-hmm. Now, the introduction of clean and safe water in our areas, in our country, but for those areas that remain without clean, we actually say, please let us make sure we boil water, or if it is expensive to do that and no means, let's put a household jig bleach in that. Now, we were not aware, but now Water and Sanitation Department, City of Tshwane, have been working on this problem, that there's been an instability in terms of the water supply for that area, not just yesterday, 2 days ago, for some time. And that matter has not then been resolved. Now, Michelle, the most important thing you need as a human being is air, oxygen, and the next is water. Water for anything. I mean, you can stay without food for some days, but not water. Now, if you consume unsafe and unclean water contaminated with fecal material, this is what you get. And therefore, we are saying we are on the receiving side, because we now have to take over as health and try and make sure we treat them. Now, the more important thing about cholera is that it is a fast dehydrating. People die out of dehydration. The dehydration from vomiting and diarrhea, if you are cholera infected, is very fast, and sometimes we get them into our facilities, health facilities, a bit late to start putting up drips and therefore assist. Yeah. And therefore confirmed is cholera.
I mean, the difficulty with the communication that came from various government agencies around communities in Hammanskraal and advising them not to drink tap water, advising them to first boil water, to treat the water with bleach. You know, a number of the people and their families who have been quoted in morning papers and who our reporters have spoken to say that communication never reached them. In fact, Dr. Dhlomo, you know, one grandmother in her 80s who's now since passed away, her granddaughter talks about how sick her grandmother became, and what she did was she gave her more water from the tap, which we now know was the absolute wrong thing to do. But her grandmother was thirsty, as you say, as a result of her cholera symptoms, and that's how she thought she might help her grandmother. The communication aspect of getting that message to everyone before this cholera outbreak began, that tap water is not safe, it surely failed.
We learned that, Michelle, as when we meet the people and the residents there, but that communication would have been, firstly, because of the testing or actually the suspicion from the City of Tshwane to say we suspect that this water is like this and that, therefore don't do this and that. We also picked it up, but as soon as we were then alerted that there are serious problems there, our MEC for Health in Gauteng was there on Friday to really make sure that we are able to assist. But also the social development is now picking up these challenges, as you are saying, like a post-mortem report, a sort of a story that is coming in from relatives and these issues that are coming up now, that the water was unsafe. Look, very few people will suspect that water from the tap is unsafe. Very, very few. You would think that it's only when you go to the rivers that you would probably be very... So I would have been less suspicious of a tap water being unsafe And you are therefore correct that if that was the situation, I'm sure the communication from the city of Cholera should have been much more stronger, and maybe also we would be informed, and then the society gets to get that information. We are picking it up as we see more and more people challenging coming into our health facilities now.
Yeah. So Dr. Dhlomo, can you give us a sense of, the kinds of symptoms that people who contract cholera, that they face, and what the advice is, on when to seek medical attention?
Okay. The overall alert, Michelle, that we are sending now, as of yesterday, signed by our DG, to all government health clinics, facilities countrywide, of course stronger in Gauteng, is that if you have any diarrheal symptoms, let's treat it as if it is cholera, because like I'm saying, it's fast dehydrating. What are those symptoms? Abdominal cramps, vomiting, and diarrhea, which is very profuse and fast. If you are able to look at your diarrhea, they say it's rice water. It looks like the rice water that is typical of cholera diarrhea. But we are sending an alert, Michelle, that says any diarrheal disease today going forward, treat it as if it is cholera until proven otherwise. Once we take it up, we have to take a stool specimen, send it to the lab, 2 or 3 days, we then confirm. But let's treat it that way. And by the way, we are saying, in addition to that, let us err on the side of washing hands when you are coming in from the bathroom, especially if you are going to be handling food, and just personal hygiene. And also, on addition, if there's a source of water is suspicious, not clear about it, boiling water probably expensive for some of the citizens with the electricity not being available, let us err on the side of household bleach in our water, put it there, let it stand for some few hours, and then reuse it. In that space, Michelle, you may still have water in the household which you are suspicious of, but if you put jig on it, it may go a long way to killing all the Vibrio cholera that would be in that water.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously understand that these are the measures that we have to take now. The issue that you raise around hand hygiene, Dr. Dhlomo, is also a difficult one, because you may not use the tap water to wash your hands either. It essentially is unfit for any kind of human use, right? So it becomes difficult to practice hand hygiene, to try and keep yourself safe in a context like this. You're communicating the issue of using bleach to try and clean your water, but do you admit, Dr. Dhlomo, that this is not ideal, and that really is putting it mildly? We should be able to trust the water coming out of our taps. And this is not a new problem in Hammanskraal. It's 2 decades old. Is this part of what the task team will now surely be investigating?
Yes. The Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, who was part of the delegation yesterday, made it very clear that there will be investigations of these 3 water sources, what actually happened where. Could there have been someone who was negligent of something, and therefore that is a technical expert report that will actually help us. While that is happening, we need to do what we can within health, and we hope that they are going to speed up that work. For us, it is important and very urgent that they close that tap, which is actually making a fecal material to leak into water, and therefore unsuspecting citizens get that water and use it. But I would still urge, Michelle, that even if you are going to wash your hands, let's also use the water that has been through bleach, that has got the bleach in it, even to wash your hands. Because you are correct, taking it from the tap again, when the tap has not been confirmed to have uncontaminated water, is still a risk on its own.
Yeah, it's just a completely untenable situation in Hammanskraal. Dr. Dhlomo, part of what the task team will also be investigating is whether negligence is at play, whether negligence played a part in this cholera outbreak. And surely, even before that task team has started its work, on the basis of the facts that we know, the answer to that is yes.
Obviously, Michelle, because it's not only a matter of putting all systems and control in place, but then you stand on the other side and say, I can confirm as employed here, technical, that this water is clean and is free, and you go and actually test it. If it is needing further sterilization, you do so before then you release it to the unsuspecting citizens. So that part is just a routine that would be done by any person who's actually employed to do that, to give citizens water that is actually confirmed by that technical person that it is clean and safe for use.
Dr. Sibongiseni Dhlomo, let me thank you for your time this morning. The Deputy Health Minister weighing in on the cholera outbreak.